There's a room inside me I've kept locked for so long, I almost forgot it existed. Not because I wanted to hide it from you, but because I was terrified of what you'd find if I opened the door. You know that feeling? When the truth sits so heavy in your chest that breathing becomes an act of resistance? When every moment of silence feels like a small betrayal? I've carried this weight for months now, maybe years. And tonight, I'm done pretending I can carry it alone. This isn't about drama. It's not about secrets that are destroyed. It's about the quiet ache of being almost fully known, but not completely. Of standing this close to intimacy and still holding back the one thing that might change everything. Or nothing. I've been thinking about why we hide parts of ourselves. Not the surface level stuff. The bad days, the small frustrations, the things we complain about over dinner. But the deeper layers. The doubts that wake us at 3 in the morning. The fears we've convinced ourselves make us unlovable. The truths we think might change how you see me. And I realized something. Withholding those parts isn't protection. It's isolation dressed up as safety. Every relationship has a threshold, a point where you've shared enough to feel close, but not enough to feel fully seen. And most people live right there, on that line, for years, maybe forever, because crossing it requires something we're taught to avoid: genuine vulnerability. Not the curated kind you post online, not the rehearsed version you bring to therapy. The raw, unfiltered truth that makes your voice shake when you say it out loud. I've been standing at that threshold for too long. You know what I realized? Every time I held something back, I told myself it was to protect you, to protect us. But really, I was protecting the version of myself I thought you needed me to be. The one who has it together, the one who doesn't carry doubt or regret or the weight of things I've never said. And in doing that, I built a wall between who I am and who I let you see. Here's what nobody told me. Trust isn't built on perfection. It's built on the willingness to be imperfect in front of someone and believe they'll stay. You can't manufacture that with time or good behavior. You create it by opening the door to the rooms you've kept locked. By letting someone see not just your best self, but your whole self. The parts that are messy, uncertain, still healing. Have you ever noticed how closeness has levels? There's the closeness of shared routines, then the closeness of shared laughter, then something deeper, shared fears. But the deepest level, that's shared truth, the kind that sits heavy in your chest because you don't know how it'll land. I've wanted to reach that level with you for so long, but wanting it and doing it are two different things. So here's what I've been carrying, this thing I haven't told you. It's not some dramatic revelation that will shatter everything. It's quieter than that, more personal. It's about who I've been, the choices I made before I knew better, the ways I've failed at this, at love, at presence, at showing up fully in the past, the doubts I still carry about whether I'm enough for what we're building together. And the truth is, I've been afraid that if you knew all of it, you'd see me differently, that the version of me you fell for would crack, that the intimacy we've built would feel less solid. But that fear, it's been costing us something bigger. Because intimacy without full transparency isn't intimacy. It's a performance. And I don't want to perform for you anymore. Look at me when I say this. I'm not confessing to hurt you or to create distance. I'm confessing because emotional connection requires letting each other in completely. Not just the highlights, not just the moments I'm proud of, everything. The doubts, the scars, the places where I'm still learning how to be the person I want to be for you. Research on relationships shows that true emotional intimacy, the kind that lasts, grows when we allow ourselves to be fully known, flaws and all. You asked me once why I sometimes pull back when we get close, why I deflect with humor when conversations turn vulnerable. I didn't have an answer then, but I do now. I pull back because vulnerability feels like risk, like stepping into open air, with no guarantee you'll catch me. And I've learned, through years of protecting myself, that the safest way to avoid pain is to avoid exposure, to keep certain doors locked, to only show the parts of myself that feel acceptable. But here's the thing about safety. You can't build a deep connection from it. You can build comfort, consistency, even affection, but not intimacy, not the kind where you feel known, not just loved, where you can breathe fully because there's nothing left to hide. That kind of intimacy requires courage. It requires opening up the hidden rooms and trusting that what's inside won't destroy what we've built. Tell me, when was the last time you felt completely seen? Not admired, not wanted, but seen. As if someone looked past the armor and loved what they found underneath. That's what I want for us. Not just in moments, not just when it's easy, but as the foundation. And I know that starts with me being willing to be seen first. So here's my confession. I've been afraid of losing you, not because of something you've done, but because I've convinced myself that the real me, the uncertain, still healing, sometimes doubting me, isn't enough. That if you saw the full picture, you'd realize you could do better. Find someone who has fewer scars, less baggage, more certainty about what they're doing. And that fear has made me careful, made me edit myself, made me hide the moments when I feel inadequate or unsure. But in hiding those parts, I've also hidden the vulnerability that creates real emotional connection. Because when you protect yourself from being hurt, you also protect yourself from being fully loved. You can't have one without risking the other. This is the secret I've been keeping. Not a betrayal, not a lie, but a truth about my own fragility. About the parts of me that still question whether I deserve this, whether I can be what you need, whether the love we're building will survive my imperfections. I've carried that doubt quietly, thinking if I just worked harder, became more, proved myself enough, it would disappear. But it doesn't work that way. Growth doesn't come from hiding our struggles. It comes from sharing them, from saying, this is where I'm afraid. This is where I'm uncertain. This is where I need you to know me better than I know myself. That's not a weakness. That's the courage that builds intimacy. And I want that with you. I want the kind of love where confession doesn't feel like a risk, where vulnerability doesn't require bravery because we've made it safe for each other to be human, where unlocking the hidden rooms isn't terrifying. It's just what we do. Because that's what it means to be fully present with someone. To trust them not just with your best days, but with your most uncertain ones. So I'm opening the door, right now, to the room I've kept locked. And I'm asking you to step inside with me. Not to fix anything, not to judge, just to see, to know, to let this be the beginning of something deeper than what we've had before. I used to think strength meant not needing anyone, that independence was the highest form of self-respect, that the less you required from others, the more powerful you became. And for years, that belief shaped every relationship I entered. I'd get close, but never too close. I'd share, but never too much. I'd love, but always with one foot out the door, ready to prove I could survive alone. But that's not strength. That's fear wearing a different mask. Real strength is standing in front of someone and saying, this is who I am, this is where I'm scared, this is where I need you, and then trusting them to stay. Because vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the only path to genuine connection. Research shows that people who can openly discuss their inadequacies feel the most supported in their relationships. The walls we build to protect ourselves end up isolating us from the very intimacy we crave. You want to know what changed for me? I realized I was treating love like a negotiation. Like if I only showed the best parts, I'd get to keep you longer. If I hid the doubts, the cracks, the moments I felt small, you'd never have a reason to leave. But here's what nobody tells you about that strategy. It works. Until it doesn't. You can curate yourself for years, build a relationship on highlights and edited truths, but eventually you'll feel the distance. The loneliness of being loved for who you're pretending to be instead of who you actually are. And that loneliness, it's worse than rejection, because at least rejection gives you an answer. This just leaves you wondering if the person next to you would still be there, if they knew everything. if they saw the rooms you keep locked, if they understood the weight you carry when you're alone. So here's the truth I've been holding. I don't have it all figured out. I don't wake up every day certain about us, about myself, about the future. Some mornings I'm terrified that I'll fail you, that the love I have isn't enough to balance the baggage I carry, that one day you'll realize I'm still learning how to be present, how to trust, how to let someone stay without planning their exit. But here's what nobody told me. Confession isn't just about revealing secrets. It's about creating space for someone to see you fully and choosing to love what they find. It's psychological release, a liberation that happens when you stop performing and start existing. When you give voice to the things you've been grappling with internally and trust that saying them out loud won't destroy what you've built. Have you ever noticed how we test people? How do we reveal ourselves in layers, waiting to see if they'll flinch? We share small vulnerabilities first, safe ones, the kind that makes us relatable but not risky. And if they stay, we go deeper, inch by inch, testing the water to see how much truth the relationship can hold before it cracks. I've been doing that with you, and I'm tired of it, not because you failed the tests, but because the tests themselves create distance. Every time I hold back, I'm saying, I don't trust you with this yet. And that hesitation, it costs us. It costs the depth we could have, the intimacy that comes from being fully known, not just partially accepted. Look at me for a second. What if we stopped testing? What if I just laid it all out, the doubts, the fears, the parts of me I've convinced myself are too much, and we dealt with it together? Not because it's romantic, not because it's easy, but because emotional honesty is the only foundation that lasts. Couples who practice transparency don't just stay together longer, they feel more understood, more connected, more alive in the relationship. That's what I want. Not a love built on my best days, but one that can hold my worst ones, where I don't have to edit my thoughts before I speak them, where uncertainty doesn't feel like failure, where being seen, really seen, isn't terrifying. It's home. And I know that kind of love requires something from both of us. It requires me to stop protecting the version of myself I think you need and start showing you the version I actually am. The one who's still healing, still doubting, still figuring out how to be the person I want to be. But it also requires you to receive that without judgment, to understand that my confession isn't a burden, it's an invitation. Because that's what vulnerability really is, an invitation into the deeper rooms, the ones where we keep the things we think will make us unlovable. And when someone accepts that invitation, when they step inside and don't run, that's when intimacy begins. Not in the surface moments, not in the easy conversations, but in the willingness to be seen in our imperfection and loved anyway. So here's what I'm asking. Don't fix me, don't reassure me out of politeness. Just see me, the uncertainty, the fear, the parts I've kept hidden because I was afraid they'd change how you felt. See them and decide if you can love me with the doors unlocked. Because I can't keep pretending that holding back is safer than letting you in. It's not. It's just lonelier. And I've realized something. The cost of vulnerability is discomfort, maybe rejection. But the cost of avoiding it? That's a lifetime of being almost known, almost loved, almost connected, and I almost don't want to anymore. I want the kind of relationship where confession doesn't feel like a risk. Being fully present doesn't require courage because we've made it safe for each other to be human. That's why I'm telling you this. Not because I expect you to carry my doubts, but because I want you to know them. To understand that my hesitations aren't about you. They're about me learning to trust that love can hold imperfection, that closeness doesn't require perfection, that the most authentic relationships aren't built on who we wish we were, but on who we actually are. You asked me once why I sometimes go quiet when things feel intense, why I deflect when you try to go deeper. This is why. Because going deeper means exposing the parts of me I've protected for years. The wounds I haven't fully healed, the doubts I haven't fully resolved. And every time I pull back, it's not because I don't want closeness, it's because I'm afraid of what you'll think when you see what's underneath.
I'm done being afraid. Maybe I'm not done. Maybe I'm still terrified, but I'm choosing to speak anyway because the research is clear. When we share authentically, it creates cycles of deeper connection. When one person opens up, it gives permission for the other to do the same. And that reciprocity, that's where real intimacy lives. Not in the moments we have it together, but in the moments we're honest about falling apart.
So here I am, falling apart just enough to let you see the cracks, trusting that you won't use them to break me further, but to understand me better, hoping that this confession, this raw, unfiltered truth, will be the beginning of something deeper than what we've had before. Because I don't want to love you from behind walls anymore. I want to love you from the open space where I'm fully seen, fully known, fully here. There's a moment after confession where everything feels exposed, like standing in a storm without shelter. You've said the thing you've been holding, and now it exists between you. You can't take it back, can't edit it, can't pretend you didn't mean it. And in that moment, you realize something profound. Honesty doesn't come with guarantees. It just comes with freedom. I spent years believing that the right words, the right timing, the right version of myself would protect me from loss. That if I could just be strategic enough with my vulnerability, I'd get closeness without risk. But that's not how it works. You can't engineer intimacy. You can't control someone's response to your truth. All you can do is speak it and trust that whatever comes next is better than living half known. And here's what I've learned. The transformation doesn't happen when they respond. It happens when you speak, when you stop carrying the weight alone and give voice to what you've been holding. That release, that's where growth lives. Not in their acceptance, in your courage to be seen. You know what's interesting? We think love is about finding someone who makes us feel safe. But real love is about choosing someone even when it doesn't feel safe. Being honest feels risky. When showing up fully means exposing the parts we've hidden. That's not comfortable. That's commitment. The willingness to build something real instead of something perfect. I used to think I needed to become whole before I could be loved completely. That I had to fix all my doubts, heal all my wounds, resolve all my fears first. Then I could show up and deserve someone's presence. But that's backwards. We don't heal in isolation and then connect. We connect, and in that connection, we heal. The very act of